ProRes for high quality masters and H.264 for web or social video. There are two main file formats that you can rely on every time to make sure the world gets to experience all your work as intended. ProRes for high quality masters and H.264 for web or social media. These are tried and true and work like a charm. So let's dive in and I'll show you the full workflow. So first things first, here in our project window, let's set our in and out points. Then using the keyboard shortcut Command M, we can bring up the media export window. Now for our high quality exports, we're going to go up here, scroll down to select QuickTime. Then down here, you can choose ProRes 422, which is the standard go-to choice. There's also ProRes 422 LT, still pretty high quality, but not quite as large of a file size. And HQ, which is a little bit of a higher bitrate option than 422 regular. Or for the highest quality possible, you can also select the 4444 option. This file type also gives you the chance to export alpha layers, meaning that transparent pixels will stay transparent instead of being converted to black. Looking at the rest of our options here, I usually rely on these check marks because they help you make sure that your settings will match your sequence exactly. You'll get no weird quality surprises when you watch back. Now, under the audio tab, you're usually golden as is because Premiere will automatically sync your sequence settings. But just make sure we're definitely in stereo. Down here for ProRes exports, I always choose Use Previews so that Premiere doesn't have to re-render anything it's already rendered, and choose Maximum Render Quality so that it, uses maximum render quality. Just don't click this box here or it'll render your proxies instead of automatically relinking to your high quality main footage. Now for the final export, you can click Export to export just this output one at a time, or you can choose Q to send your settings to the media encoder. This lets you batch export tons of files all at once, even with completely different settings and destinations. You can change those up by clicking individually, or if you shift click and select multiple, you can edit multiple export settings all at once. Now, like I mentioned before, if you're exporting to deliver the highest quality possible to your clients, passing to a collaborator for color or VFX, or even just pumping out a file for archive purposes, then exporting a ProRes file is without a doubt going to be your best choice. The only downside to ProRes files is that they can be absolutely massive, easily racking up gigabytes and gigabytes of space, which is obviously a little rough on the old hard drive budget, but it also presents a big problem when uploading to the internet. With a file size this big, services like YouTube or Instagram begin to add their own additional levels of compression to optimize file sizes and playback speeds. However, that compression usually goes too far and results in a pretty crappy looking video. Now, to get around this, I've found that it's much better to deliver a file that fits within their size limitations, but looks good already, even with a fair amount of compression dialed in on our end. So the sweet spot is in this second option for high quality exports, this little codec called H.264. The beauty of H.264 comes in the fact that while other codecs have a set bitrate, this one lets you dial in your own bitrate, meaning that you can take massive files, even hours long, and get them down to under 1 gigabyte just by dialing in the target bitrate sliders. This 1000 megabyte or 1 gigabyte mark is kind of the sweet spot for YouTube, so it's what I always aim for when exporting for the web, or for social media like on Instagram, I usually aim for around 400 megabytes or less. I just find that it looks and feels really good no matter what the content is in that range. Now you can choose all your same export settings as we did before with ProRes, and boom, you're good to go. The one thing you just want to look out for under the audio tab is to set this to 320 kilobits per second so that it's the highest quality, but besides that, you're good to go. These export settings are the final step to making sure the world gets to experience all your video magic as intended. So I hope this video helped, and if you have